Welcome to Commander Central, episode 239. And today we'll be taking a look at the year in preview and discussing things that are coming in 2021. I'm Dana.
I'm Max.
And I'm Chris.
Gentlemen, how has everyone's top decks been going this week? How's life treating y'all?
I guess it's okay. I mean, it's like, what is it? It's December 39th or something like that right now.
Yeah, I believe that is correct, Chris. It's December 29th of 2020. We've officially entered New Game Plus mode of 2020, so let's try to do a little better.
We leveled up to Prestige class now is what we're doing and starting over.
What a horrifying thought. Thank you very much, both of you two.
You're welcome. Happy New Year.
You know, ignoring the craziness in the world around us, I guess, if I'm going to focus on something nice, I haven't had to shovel my driveway very much for Wisconsin, and this is in December 39th. That's okay, I guess. Took a nice walk into work today. The weather's kind of nice, so...
I'm going to pop your bubble right now, Dana. I read an article from the National Weather Service that said that the polar vortex got disrupted, which happens once every, like 3 or 4 years or something like that. So they're saying expect extreme cold this year.
Oh,
I can deal with cold. I can deal with cold. I don't like the snow.
At least cold I can hide inside and avoid versus snow I have to actually go outside and deal with.
I'd rather have it snow, because I don't like watching my electric bill go through the roof for no reason. Now, if I want to hang up, 40 Christmas lights, 40 feet of it or whatever outside and have my thing go through the roof, then whatever, but... Well,
did anyone play any fun games this week? I think Max got to stream a couple of different things or do a couple of different things online. How did those go for you?
Yeah, I played the other night with some listeners. I had some good games with them, but then I also got to play with Brando from Commander Cookout, F.U. Smitty, and Chris Von Doom last night. We played a couple games, and speaking of top decks, I think I had the top deck of the year so far.
Nice.
Chris Von Doom played a Morality Shift, which is a 7-mana sorcery where you swap your graveyard and your library, and he was playing a Nethroi deck, so he pretty much set up his next turn to go off. And he passed the turn, and I kind of looked at the table. I said, well, if this next card is a Scavenger's Ground, I think we all lose. And I top-decked a Scavenger Grounds.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
perfect
a shock and awe moment. It was pretty cool. And of course, since I called it, I had to do it. I had to crack it just to take him out of the game.
Did you win the game at the end?
I did end up winning the game. I was playing Jamoka, so I just kind of had a bunch of angel tokens from Resplendent Angel and a Serra Ascendant and Jamoka and just started smacking everybody for, 20-some damage a turn, which was a lot of fun to do.
The big beats always feel good.
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't get to play much this week, I don't think at all, so I don't have much exciting to talk about. But I think we are going to have enough on the main show anyway, so we can start moving in that general direction. But first, if anyone out there in listener land would like to reach out to us and say hi, or tell us what fun games you played, or what you're expecting to happen in 2021, how would you do that, Chris?
You can reach us on a multitude of social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter at CMDR Central. You can search us up on Facebook, CMDR Central. You can find us online at CMDRCentral.com. You can also find us on YouTube by searching the CMDR Central.
You can also head over to patreon.com/CMDR Central and check out our reward tiers, such as the Decks You Play episodes. And this week, we want to say thank you to a handful of new patrons: Cameron Deschatel, Dustin Ivy, Walrus Master, and Matt Flucher. So thank you to those new patrons, and thank you to everybody who has continued to support us through the crazy year that has been 2020 and even prior to that.
Even into December 39th. Continue to support us, and we really appreciate it.
Right.
So thanks, everyone. Yeah, I mean, if just by listening and clicking those upvotes on whatever medium you choose to listen to makes a big difference as well. So any engagement is appreciated, and we want to thank everyone out there. It's what keeps the lights on, keeps Max in pants, and keeps the show flowing.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
I'm supposed to be wearing pants?
Well, we're all recording separately now, so it's entirely optional. Basically, I live in my pajama pants now unless I'm walking into work, so I can't criticize anybody. So we've gotten a lot of information so far about the sets that are coming in 2021, which is a little unusual. In the past, we used to find out about a set 4 or 5 months in advance. We didn't, usually know what the full year looked like. And we have a pretty good glimpse this year of all the sets that are coming out. So we're going to talk about what we know about them, what we will see from them, and what we'd like to see from them. Kind of do some speculation, what we hope to see, that kind of thing. So it's basically, like we said in the beginning, the year in preview. So Max, you want to start us off here? here with the first set of the year that we know is coming. We've already got some cards from.
Yeah, so Kaldheim is the first set of 2020. Preview season has already started when this episode airs. The set releases on February 5th, 2021. And so far we know this is Magic's take on the Norse-based mythology plane. It describes from fandom.com and what we've seen in the preview show that aired earlier last week. We know Kaya visits a world of prophecy and legend and mortals and monsters, a world of many realms, epic sagas bound by one truth, a Viking or Valkyrie, elf or dwarf, all belong to the world tree, all are supplicant to the gods who travel between the realms to do their bidding for peace or bloodshed or for their own amusement. What else we know is we know the MDFCs are coming back. The rest of the hideaway lands are here, along with some cool creatures and planeswalker MDFCs. Sagas are returning, and some Phyrexian Praetors are coming back as well.
Yeah, we've seen Vorinclex in his entirety. He doesn't have Infect, but it's a Vorinclex Praetor card who has the Phyrexian subtype. So we don't know why Vorinclex is there yet, but Vorinclex is on the plane. Max mentioned Sagas are coming back. Changelings and the Snow Mechanic are going to be there as well. And there's a lot of tribal stuff happening so far. It looks like we haven't got, I guess, confirmation of this officially yet, but the only MDFC cards aside from those dual lands like we saw in Zendikar Rising are the gods in Kaldheim. That might not be the only thing, but that's all we've seen so far is a couple different gods that are MDFC cards, or gods on one side and they flip into a permanent on the other side. One's a planeswalker, one becomes equipment. So there's a few things there with MDFCs. So that's what we officially know as of now. The show is recording on Friday. By the time Monday airs, maybe some of that will have changed. Maybe we'll know how Vorinclex is there or why. Maybe we'll know some more, but that's the basics as of right now, and I wouldn't think we'll get too much new information. So what's everyone expecting from this set, or maybe even hoping for it, even though I guess we already know a lot of this? I can throw a few of my things out there real briefly. I hope we get some way to deal with snow. One of the problems with snow as a mechanic that's always existed, but it really kind of cropped up in Modern Horizons 1, is there isn't a downside to it. Like, for the most part, running snow basics over regular basics are just strictly better. It gives you access to a few different spells that function better by having those snow basics, and there just isn't really a penalty for doing that. And I would like to see there be some push and pull where, like, you're taking a risk by running all snow basics. And I think that has to be done in a way, like, yeah, they could print a card that says destroy all snow basics, but I don't think you want to necessarily run that either unless you're playing with the same 3 people every week, because it's going to be dead so often. So there needs to be a reasonable way to punish snow that isn't just strictly snow hate. I don't know what that's going to be, but I hope we get something to make it just not strictly better. How about you, Chris? Anything you're looking to see or hoping to see from this set?
Well, seeing how this is based on like Norse mythology, Norse myth, Norse life in general, I'd like to see vehicles.
Oh, sure.
Something in the line of, like Viking ships, that kind of stuff. I think it'd be cool to see something along those lines. I'm not sure exactly what I want to see, but vehicles coming back would be something cool to see.
And vehicles are very easy to bring back. They don't even need to like make it part of the set mechanic. They just are willing to introduce those at any point in time these days. So yeah, that would be cool.
Yes.
Just in general, like, there's so much stuff for whatever reason here. Maybe it's because of, Thor in Marvel or whatever. In the US, we have at least a decent passing familiarity with Norse mythology and Viking mythology, kind of. So a lot of this stuff is kind of familiar to us, and there's a lot of things they could reference that are obvious, whereas I think maybe in something like Amonkhet, if you dig too deep in Egyptian mythology, the average person probably just doesn't know that much about it.
Yes.
So it doesn't probably resonate as well. Whereas a lot of the Viking stuff, I think, really people kind of get for whatever reason here. So I think that's kind of cool. There's a lot they can do there. And the fact that they've really tied a lot of this in with metal. During the preview video, they had a metal band playing on the preview video with Jimmy that was really kind of neat. And there's a lot of ties there as well that are fun. And they really played into that. With the Secret Lair drop, with all the metal cards too. So that's been super fun. I hope we get a little more of that kind of thing as well. How about you, Max? What are you looking for here?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. Currently, like, outside of Magic, I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is it's all set in the Vikings world. So I would really like to see, like, like a Thor's hammer as an equipment in the deck, like in the set. I hope we get something like that, the all-powerful equipment that, everybody's trying to find. But on top of that, if we don't get like a single artifact, I'd like to see something similar to like the Cauldra set of equipment, where if you have the 3 pieces, the creature gets really big and powerful. And I think this might just be the cool set to do it, because Vikings wear armor and they have the 2 battle axes and maybe the cool war helmet. So I think it's definitely could happen, but we'll just have to wait and see.
I'm actually really surprised they haven't revisited that at some point with equipment where 2 or 3 pieces where they get better the more of those specific pieces you have on something. So yeah, this would be a good set to do that for sure.
Yep. I also think this set is a good chance for them to bring back like Krakens and other things of that nature. Due to the simple fact of mythology, the Vikings, when traveling, they have all these myths of, sea monsters and other weird creatures. For instance, the movie The 13th Warrior, which is based off of Michael Crichton's book, The Eaters of the Dead. The mythology of, monsters coming out of the ground type of deal. I mean, that kind of stuff would be cool to see.
I was just having a conversation with someone the other day about 13th Warrior, which is a much better movie than people think it was.
It is. The book's really good too.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Which in its, for those that don't know, it's kind of taking the Beowulf myth and if there was no magic in Beowulf, like what it would actually be like. So it's super cool. So I would check it out. So anyway, before we get too distracted by Antonio Banderas movies,
Zorro,
you want to tell us about Strixhaven?
All right, Strixhaven, School of Mages. This would release in Q2 of 2021, so it's probably going to be the April, May, June set, somewhere around in there. Strixhaven is a school of magic on an unknown plane. The school is the most elite university in the multiverse. It features 5 colleges, which battle it out with their own takes on magic. So we can just assume by that right there that it's going to be, the 5 colors, obviously, because they're never going to bring a 6th color in, even though there was that weird leak, 2 years ago, where people were like, oh, there's a 6th color of magic. It's like purple or something or another. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Yeah. If you do, holler at your boy, because I'd love to talk about it. So we'll discuss, someone who was theorized from being here, and that is Kasmina Enigmatic Mentor. Wow, I cannot talk today for some reason. She. Not sure. It is a she.
Yeah, it was a she.
It's from War of the Spark. Some little bit of info that we know. James Wyatt's The Art of Magic the Gathering, War of the Spark book reveals that Kasmina is the leader of an ancient secret order of planeswalkers, a shadowy cabal with mysterious goals. Her large, her goals overall are unknown, but her recent obsession is recruitment. And her preferred method is to identify what she calls embers, which are, baby planeswalkers who have not, ignited their spark yet. And she wants to pretty much recruit them, enlist them, whatever she wants to do, create planeswalkers out of them, because she's worried that there's some sort of larger threat that's going to dwarf the War of the Spark, which is something I would like to see, because isn't Nicol Bolas like the ultimate evil?
Maybe not.
I don't know if there's anything else in the lore that says that he isn't.
Right.
Maybe she's the ultimate evil.
Yeah, it could be. And we don't even know for sure if she's necessarily from Strixhaven, but it seems like it's probably a logical plant given that backstory. I'm going to guess we do see her there.
So, question for you guys. This is a little bit of a tangent. I'm going to go off here. I'm sorry. But these stories, from people who write these books and stuff like this, is this considered canon, or is this considered non-canon?
That one would be, though. The Art of Magic the Gathering or the Spark book would be considered canon, so that's all legitimate backstory that will be presumably relevant at some point in time, and I feel like hers is so specific, that's the kind of thing they're going to use at some point.
Okay. All right. Makes sense. I was always curious about that because I read up on some of that stuff and I'm like, I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if this is someone's fantasy of what it could be or whatnot. Now, as we discussed, Strixhaven is a university, so it is not a plane of existence. So this plane could be new, or it could be somewhere that we've been before, such as Chandalar or Vryn. Now, one of the Vryn-based cards for Magic Origins is Ring Warden Owl, which reflects the Strixhaven symbol of an owl. Its flavor text reads, "The owl learns the mana from the mages that know it best." Are we tying things in? That'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty cool.
Origins was the best core set ever made. MDFC's cards are going to show up here again. So now Zendikar Rising, we had, spell/lands that flip. Kaldheim seems to be, from what we've seen so far, it's like creatures and permanents on the gods, where the gods flip into something different. So maybe we could just assume going forward, this might be a spell creature base maybe, or a spell permanent base, something along those lines. You never know.
Yeah, I'm going to guess they'll try to to differentiate it somehow from the previous two sets as well. And given we're dealing with wizards, there's all kinds of ways they could explain that. So it'll probably be pretty cool. And I like MDFC cards a lot. I like using both sides of the card. I think there's a lot of cool design space there. So I'm looking forward to see what they do with that exactly.
I do like that, when we first looked at the MDFCs, we all agreed, we're like, I don't know about these cards. I don't know. And now the more and more that you see them used, the more and more that you get to play with them, the more you realize it opens up so many different avenues for play that, they're becoming almost staple-like.
Especially the ones that aren't lands. I think the lands get kind of weird, but yeah, like the ones we're looking at right now in Kaldheim, especially when you don't have to like do the math about do I take a land out of my deck or not, when it's just a really good modal spell. Those are so useful and so powerful.
So here's a question going forward. Commander-based question sent out to you guys or our listeners, and maybe it's already been answered. But due to the nature of the format that we play EDH, let's say that we go into the spell/creature base, or even with the creatures and permanents. What if the other side does not represent the color combination of my commander?
It is not legal at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have the little symbol like they did before on the flip cards? Like
yeah, they do.
They do. Yeah,
they do. Okay.
And I did see also. I think it was just a clarification yesterday, but it might have been a rule change with Cascade. You reveal, so if you Cascade and you hit an MDFC card, the front has to match the CMC qualification. So like if it has to be a spell CMC 3 or less, the front has to match it, but you can cast either side.
Ooh,
interesting.
Which is
that'll get confusing.
Really, but it's also really good because it lets you like hit something that has a CMC of 2 on the front if you have to do a 3 or less, which is the new Black God, which is a planeswalker on the back. Then you can cast that like 6-mana planeswalker, I think it was, on the backside.
Yep.
Off a Cascade of 3.
Oh boy.
As if Cascade wasn't good enough.
And of course they're like, oh yeah, Cascade. I want to know who in their mind thought of this, like who in development or whatever is like, oh, you know what I could do with Cascade? Can we do this in this rules? Let's see if we can do this.
I feel like Cascade's probably just one of those things they constantly have to be like, okay, how does this work with Cascade? Oh no. Like it's probably legitimately always a pain in the butt.
Yeah, they go back to, Alfred who created Cascade, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they're like, oh, I can't believe we let you do this.
So what do we expect or want to see from this set? Max, let me throw to you first for what your expectations or desires are to see from Strixhaven.
Yeah, so I'm kind of basing this off of what we've so far seen from Kaldheim since they're going to flow into each other.
Mm-hmm.
So with Kaldheim, we're seeing a lot of the monocolored legends, like the gods, with the 2-color support cards in the sagas. So I think Strixhaven is going to follow suit. They've already kind of set it up, the 5 schools, 5 colors of magic. And I think we're going to get the allied colored sagas because in Kaldheim, we're getting enemy colored sagas.
Oh, good call. I didn't even notice that, but yeah, no, that makes sense.
I'm going to keep going on my equipment kick here. I think we're going to get like a mythic like wand or spellbook equipment for every color because that's going to be like the school's pride and joy. I kind of think of like the Elder Wand from Harry Potter, that's what everybody wanted.
Sure.
And I think we'll get something like that. In regards to the MDFCs and seeing that this is where people are training to become planeswalkers, I think we're going to get flipwalkers like from Origins.
Yeah, that makes sense now that you say it, yeah.
And then my other things are like, I think we'll get flashback and rebound as returning mechanics.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I think, to kind of tie it back into Kazmina's secret cabal of higher order, I don't think we're going to see much of the Phyrexians in Strixhaven themselves, like cards or anything. But I think the story that we can read on the mothership is going to hint that this is what she's training to fight is the Phyrexians.
That would make sense as well. They need to start building that next big future threat, and particularly having seen Vorinclex show up in Kaldheim, I think we're heading that direction. And as a reminder out there, New Phyrexia is what everyone kind of commonly is thinking about when they think of Phyrexians. That's not all of it. There were other planes that the Phyrexians had invaded, like way back, we're talking invasion storyline, when Yawgmoth was still alive. They didn't just invade Dominaria, they invaded other planes as well, and when Yawgmoth died, those planes got cut off. And that was a long time ago in like magical lore time-wise. So there's other planes out there with Phyrexians still on them that are like separated from each other. That's where Elspeth came from. She came from a plane that was taken over by Phyrexians, and she sparked and jumped out. So there's existing Phyrexians out there elsewhere in addition to the ones on New Phyrexia. There's a whole lot of different ways they can take that storyline, and I think that kind of makes sense. I'll jump into my speculations here because one of them kind of ties into that. I think it makes sense to have Urza be involved with the founding of this school of Strixhaven, planeswalker that jumped over the multiverse, and I guess I didn't think of that connection, Max, but if you think it might be a storyline about these planeswalkers being trained to battle Phyrexians, which I think makes sense, it also makes sense that Urza was involved in founding of the school since that was what his primary fight was. And his storyline back in the day was him creating that legacy weapon to deal with the problem down the road. This could be just another example of him setting up something to deal with Phyrexians down the road, building the school. So I would like to have us see Urza was like tied back into this. I think that would be kind of cool. I think maybe I'm reading too much into the name Strixhaven and like all the owl thing, but I wouldn't be surprised or would like to maybe even see them do something with like a partner with mechanic. So some wizards have an owl familiar kind of thing and they're partnered with, so you can, when you play your wizard, go grab the owl familiar. I think that would be kind of a neat mechanic, and I think this is a perfect place for it. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Maybe if they would do that, that would be kind of cool. And I think partner with would be fine for standard too. It's only ever been in a supplemental set, but I think that could work in standard without being too broken, as long as the owl familiar part wasn't too crazy strong of a card. So I think that would be a neat, flavorful addition as well. How about you, Chris? What would you like to see here from Strixhaven?
Due to the simple nature that the set, they say, revolves around the 5 colors of Magic and how each of them fights, for kind of like a domination of their own color type of deal. I wouldn't mind seeing like signature spells again. Yeah. Base for each color. I would love to see something along the lines of a color bonus if that's the only color that you're playing. So let's say you cast a spell and it says, if you have like 7 red cards in your graveyard or you've cast 2 red cards before now, this card gets this additional bonus built into it or something like that. Sure. So you're staying within your color, that they're talking about. I'd also like to see cards that are rivalries of the colors. A good example of this is like Hydroblast and Pyroblast. Stuff along those lines, where like red hates blue, blue hates red, green hates whatever, all that kind of stuff, they're arch rivalry type of things. That'd be cool to see something like that come back as well.
I mean, I've always kind of wanted to see that come back a little bit, and that's actually a really good logical reason to do it. It's not just doing it to do it; it's doing it because it makes sense in the setting of the plane. That's actually a really good call. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. No, we've seen that quite a bit, in other sets, destroy target green creature with a black card, that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something along those lines again, not necessarily the straight up, super broken cards like Hydroblast and Pyroblast, but something along those lines.
So next, summer of 2021, we have Dungeons and Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. What we know so far, Forgotten Realms is a campaign setting for the D&D role-playing game. It's kind of the main world, I guess. I don't know if that's exactly right, but like typically when people talk about playing D&D, they're usually talking about playing in the Forgotten Realms. It's a plane called Toril that has humans, dwarves, elves, goblins, orcs, the main kind of fantasy stuff we do see in Magic. Technologically, the world of the Forgotten Realms is kind of like a pre-industrial Earth of the 13th or 14th century, which again is very similar to what we oftentimes do see in Magic. The presence of magic makes things additionally kind of different, obviously, from our world. There are several nation states and many independent cities, so there's basically a whole entire created plane that's probably not dissimilar to Dominaria, just waiting for us to explore with magic cards. And this is going to replace the core set. So instead of getting a core 2021 this year, we're going to get this D&D Forgotten Realms set. So what do we want or expect from this set? Because we don't know a ton about it. I'm going to expect the party mechanic to return that we saw in Zendikar Rising.
That's a given.
Back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number one, we're getting a bunch of wizards, obviously, in Strixhaven. And if you look at all the creature types, Zendikar obviously had the ones that we saw last fall. But if you look at all the creature types we're seeing in Kaldheim, there's a lot of rogues, there's a lot of warriors, there's a lot of clerics. So it's continuing through with party stuff that both ties in with Zendikar, but I think it's going to wind up tying in forward with Forgotten Realms as well. So I'm expecting to see that. I'm also going to guess, and I kind of mentioned, I kind of played this up, I guess, a little bit when I was describing the Forgotten Realms, but I'm guessing this is not just a side project like the Godzilla cards where they're doing a whole set that's just badged as Forgotten Realms. I'm going to guess this is part of their plan to basically tie D&D's universe in with Magic, where Toril, the Forgotten Realms plane, is just a plane in the multiverse of Magic. D&D already has planes. Toril is a plane, and when you go to the Ravenloft setting or the Dark Sun setting, your character is going to a different plane. It's very easy to just make Ravenloft and Dark Sun and Toril individual planes in the Magic multiverse. And it's very easy to make a character like Elminster into a planeswalker. From a business standpoint, I think it makes sense for them to do that as well. There's just a gazillion reasons to do it and almost no reasons to not do it. So I am guessing this is the official move to kind of combine those IPs together into one kind of universe. Assuming that's true, I'd like to see them maybe tie some kind of retroactive things in together. You could very easily say that the reason there's angels on Toril in Forgotten Realms is because Sarah visited at some point in the past and she made them. And also, I hope that we see things like Beholders or Mind Flayers introduced as creature types that we could then see on planes moving forward in Magic. They're two great kind of evil creature types I'd like to see more of. Last, if you know anything about D&D or Forgotten Realms, I want a Tarask card. They've made things of that power level before. If you don't know what a Tarask is, look it up. It's like the ultimate creature from D&D, and, it would be the equivalent probably of Progenitus or Emrakul. So they've made creatures of that power level before. I think it'll be super cool to actually see a Tarask card in Magic.
They'll probably make it, but it'll probably be a trash card too. It's going to be the worst part.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, if it's, because Progenitus really isn't terribly playable. I mean, you can cheat it into play. And I've seen it as someone's 5-color commander, but it's really tough to get out.
Yeah.
I would be fine if it was even something that was as difficult to get into play as Progenitus, given the power. But I think it'll be super cool to actually see a Tarask on a card. How about you, Chris? What are you hoping for or expecting here from the Forgotten Realms set? I'm
definitely expecting party, like you discussed. That's just a given based on how D&D is played. You create a party of adventurers and you go do this and hippity hoop blah. So, sure. I mean, and it's everybody in, all the races in general. I expect to see level up the mechanic, which we haven't seen since original Zendikar, I think it was. Yeah. Was the last time we saw it. Just due to the simple fact of D&D is a thing that you're leveling up a character. Yeah. You do so much, you get experience, you do that, whatever. I expect to see Underdark stuff, such as your Dark Elves, your, like your Beholders and stuff like that, Bugbears, other weird monsters. That kind of stuff is going to show up, I think. I also have a sneaking suspicion there's going to be a possibility of seeing named characters that are fan favorites, such as the Dark Elf, Driss Jordan, the Brunner Battlehammer, the Dwarf King, and all that stuff, stuff like that were huge fan favorites. I wouldn't be surprised, not necessarily see cards, but see, like text on the card, like the little, whatever lore text saying, referencing something like that.
Well, and not to, you could also very easily do that with, there's no reason there couldn't be a equivalent of a magic missile spell. You could basically make a magic missile spell.
Yeah, I mean, little stuff like that, I think, to pull in the fans, they're huge D&D fans who also play Magic. I would love, if we saw that. Fireball was a spell that they created years ago in Magic. Why not make another one, that's similar to that, but does something different, where it does, X, or it does a certain set amount of damage compared to X and red or whatever. The other thing that I want to see is something based around halflings. Now, we had Kithkins back in the day, but I don't think we actually have a halfling creature type. So I won't be surprised if there's something along those lines that brings that in, ties it in. Maybe that's how the Kithkins came to be or something. I don't know, but something along those lines.
Well, and there isn't a ton of Kithkins either. They could very easily go back and make Kithkin into halfling, which they made a bunch of creatures into dinosaurs. Or like they did on Kamigawa, the goblins aren't really what we traditionally think of as goblins. They use kind of these imp-like creatures from Japanese folklore, but they just call them goblins, right? They don't look like our goblins, but they're the equivalent of goblins. They're the goblin creature type. It'd be very easy to have halflings to do the opposite there. Instead of rebranding Kithkin as halflings, just make a bunch of halflings and have the creature type just say Kithkin.
Yeah, and then that actually opens it up amazingly for, Commander. We have another, type of creature type that we could actually build a deck around, because honestly, Kithkins aren't the greatest in my opinion, but if we got something, it would be awesome.
No, yeah, that's cool. How about you, Max? What do you want to see here?
Okay, so this is coming from the host that knows literally nothing about D&D. So I literally just took this from what I overhear from like my roommate or Chris talk about D&D when they get done with their weekly campaign meetups. I agree with Chris. Level up cards was the first thing that popped into my head, was level up would be great for this. I also think this would be another great place for MDFCs, you know, in that sense of you gain experience and you level up, you flip the card into something bigger and stronger, so you can maybe take out your opponent. Kind of a little bit in left field here, I think experience counters could do okay in a 1v1 setting, as long as they aren't as broken as they kind of are in Commander. You know, we don't want a Marin in Standard, but you could definitely do something where you get experience counters that benefit you in a Standard or Modern environment.
The only downfall I see to that, Max, with this, I don't mean to, knock your idea because I love the idea, is experience counters would be deemed kind of like energy. So I wonder how that would play out, because you can't ever deal with energy. You can't ever deal with experience counters, from the other side of the table type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, we've seen cards that say you can't get counters or permanents. I mean, the Vorinclex that got previewed does interact with any type of counters on a player or permanent, so that's kind of where I went with this, is like, we've seen a card that deals with it. But I agree. That's why I said it's completely out of left field. I would be shocked if it actually happens, but I just thought you gain experience in D&D, why not try experience counters in a Standard format?
I would love that, like you destroy a creature and you gain an experience counter or something like that.
Right.
Like, oh my god, this is awesome.
And then from like a product standpoint, I think for like collector boosters, I think all the swords of X and Y are going to be like the chase cards that are only printed in collector boosters, because like when I think of D&D, you think of people talking about this awesome hammer or this awesome sword, and those are the swords of X and Y are exactly what I think about when I think about equipment in Magic, are those 7 swords that we have so far.
Well, and you mentioned collector boosters, Max, and this is something that I should have put in my notes, but I didn't, as things I wouldn't mind seeing. One of the things we've gotten recently, the last couple sets, is there's like a special collector version of a card that has kind of an alternate art on them. So in Kaldheim, they kind of have like a metal album cover vibe. The ones in Ikoria, we're like a comic book almost like monster thing. Yep. I would like to see if we got, which I'm guessing we will get some kind of an alt art here, if they either tried to emulate or just used like old 80s D&D art.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Like from the old D&D manuals and stuff. It's a little more cartoony, but it's like got such a specific feel to it.
Yep.
I would like to see them use some of that kind of stuff for the alt art, that real kind of throwback feeling art, I think would be super cool to see.
And I guess this also just popped into my head for something that might come in this set, the return of the adventure mechanic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
just
a good call.
Because it kind of fits in with it. You're going on an adventure with your party. Why not have an adventure card that also works with the party mechanic?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is not going to be the last time we see this kind of thing with Forgotten Realms. I would bet we do dabble way more in the D&D universe, and I think it's just going to become part of Magic. So I think that's actually really, really exciting. I'm looking forward to all of that.
Yeah, the actual upside to that, going to the Forgotten Realms, is it opens up so many planes of existence now. So they can start bouncing around, and they, opens up their broader ideas for different aspects of the game.
Yeah, super cool. All right. Back to you, Max. What do we have next? What's coming after that?
Coming out in Q3 of 2021 is Modern Horizons 2 Return of Hogak. Just like the first Modern... that's joking. That's just my subtitle. Just like the original Modern Horizons, is going to introduce all new cards directly into the Modern format without ever touching Standard. And enemy fetch lands have been confirmed as a reprint in this set. As I was prepping for this set, I never looked at Modern Horizons as a Commander set, and seeing that we just went through the year of Commander, I'm interested to see if they do more Commander-esque cards in this set, even though they will be mainly for Modern.
Yeah, but a lot of cards in the Modern Horizons set were so big in Commander. Like, you got Urza, who's, a huge, Commander card.
Right.
You got the Canopy lands, the new Canopy lands came out. I mean, there were so many cards, the Generous Gift, other stuff like that. I mean, so in the set itself, there were tons of Commander cards, even though it was, blasted for the Modern community.
Right. Yeah, I think because of the power level of Modern, stuff just accidentally winds up being good for Commander in a way that it wouldn't for Standard if you if they didn't intentionally make stuff for Commander. On the EDH Recast, Matt Morgan's a big Modern player, and I was just like watching him in a Discord chatting with somebody talking about how once they embraced the fact that Modern today plays a lot like Legacy did like 5 or 6 years ago, it got a lot more fun.
Yes.
So, Modern's just clearly changed, and I think it took a while for people to catch up to that realization that it is different than it once was. And I am going to guess that whatever stuff comes in Modern Horizons 2 at this point probably won't shake things up as much as Modern Horizons 1 did. I think they probably have a better idea of how badly they can break the format too.
Yeah.
So hopefully we won't see free
Who are you
stuff.
talking about? I mean, I don't understand this. I thought that they learned their lesson, when they banned 8 cards in Standard at one point.
Yeah.
And then Modern Horizons came out and they're like, oh, Hogak's fine. Just let him go.
Yeah, maybe not. We did get Flusterstorm last time in Modern with little or no problems. I'm wondering if they don't try to push that a little bit more. Counterspell or Arcane Denial maybe. I'll be curious to see if they take an attempt at that. There's things, Max mentioned, legendary creatures and stuff. I think this is also a good time, like last time we got Urza and we got Yawgmoth when they were young. There's some cool lore characters out there who I would not mind seeing popping up here. Gix, for one, who actually might not be dead if you read any of the old storyline stuff. And I didn't realize actually till I was doing some reading just for a different reason earlier this week that Yawgmoth didn't actually create Phyrexia. The plane was created by an evil humanoid planeswalker who took the form of a dragon, and that planeswalker created Phyrexia and then died right before Yawgmoth showed up. That would be a cool space to explore too, like seeing who that character was, and this would be a kind of a cool place to do it, I think, although they could do it in Commander product too, but I'd like to see a few more of those old lore characters show up here as well.
Agreed.
Anything that you're hoping for, Chris?
That I'm hoping for.
Or expecting.
I'm hoping for Chain Lightning and Price of Progress and Fire Blast.
Okay.
Just because I want to break Modern with Burn again. Which they're not going to give me any of those cards. I just know it. But the other thing is, like you were talking about lore, I would love to see, anything that has actual named characters, see someone get a card. Yeah. Because there are a lot of them floating out there. You could give someone a card because it's the perfect opportunity to do it. Between this and your Commander sets, that's the time when we get all that stuff. So it would be awesome if we do end up seeing something like that. I am expecting something to be broken in this set. I don't care how hard they tried. You got to think there's millions of Modern players out there in the world. As soon as this set comes out, it's, spoilers come out. Someone's going to find something that they can break with another card, because R&D does not have the time or the manpower to check, whatever it is, since 8th edition when Modern became legal, however many years ago that was, all those card combinations. The other thing that I would not be surprised in seeing is now we had the full art snow basics is what we had in original Modern Horizons. Mm-hmm. So I won't be surprised if there's something along those lines that is a get you card, like I want you to come buy our pack. So this is something in every pack that you could come buy and you're going to get something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that again.
Okay. How about you, Max? What are you hoping for or expecting to see here?
I'm not too big on the lore, especially the older lore, like what you guys have been talking about. I agree, another character I'm familiar with, getting a named card would be cool, but I kind of looked at this as what cycles are kind of left to be completed, because in Modern Horizons 1, we got the talismans and we got more canopy lands and stuff like that. So knowing that fetch lands, the 5 enemy color fetch lands are coming in this set, I know that takes up 5 rare spots for lands, but if they wanted to push the envelope and print another 5 lands, I think this would be a great spot for the Battle for Zendikar dual lands, since you're already getting fetches in this set. Why not finish that cycle with the enemy Battle for Zendikar lands as well?
With something that is fetchable, actually, if you're playing in a limited environment. Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Modern Horizons 1, we got 2 more of the Swords of X and Ys. We could finish that cycle out. There's only 3 left.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt they'll go to the point of printing the remainder of the canopy lands this time. I think those will be Modern Horizons 3.
They really should, though.
They should.
Yeah, they're so nice.
But I think that'll be Modern Horizons 3, because this site is all about the fetch lands, I think. And you can't fetch those.
Yeah, the Swords is actually a good call, because We got 2 of them last time. Definitely could get some more of that this time for sure. I didn't even think. I should have went back through and looked and see what cycles they were working on or are still unfinished. That's a good call because it seems like they liked finishing cycles with Horizon. So yeah, that would be a good thing I should have looked a little bit deeper into. So yeah, Sword is a great call. We'll definitely see 1 or 2, if not all 3 of those remaining swords for sure.
So any guesses on a theme in the set? Because during the original Modern Horizons, they had a goblin sub-theme in the set for drafting and whatnot. So I don't know if you guys have an idea of what, you could see.
I have this. It's because it's the return of Hogaak. It's going to be Dredge, and Hogaak 2.0 will have Dredge and Delve on it.
Oh, no.
I mean, no, I don't. We also had snow last time.
And we're just getting snow now
we're getting
again.
Snow again, so they definitely won't revisit that space, I wouldn't think. Man, they could just do almost anything. Yeah, I don't even know. Can't even guess what it might be. I would like to see Burn get a little bit of love. I kind of agree. I don't know if we'll get Chain Lightning, but
that'd be awesome, though, if we did.
Would be pretty fantastic, yeah, for sure. Okay, Chris, what do we have coming this fall?
All right, this fall, which would be Q4 of 2021, is called Innistrad Werewolves and Innistrad. Thank you for correcting that, Dana. Can I say that? Should we leave this in?
Sure, we can leave it in. I had Innistrad Werewolves and Innistrad Werewolves in my notes.
Yep, I was about to read it, and all of a sudden I saw it switch, and I'm like, so it is not Innistrad Werewolves and Innistrad Werewolves. It is Innistrad Werewolves and Innistrad Vampires. Set seems to be like just being released simultaneously, and probably 2 smaller sets by the guess of it. I mean, we don't know much about this. This is all hearsay up in the air as to what's actually going to happen with it.
So what are you hoping for or expecting from this one, Chris?
It's vampires and werewolves. I mean, what can I really expect? I mean... the one thing, I did write down a couple of things that I was thinking about with this. I would like to see more of the tribal themes for them to make those, those tribes stronger type of deal.
Sure.
Anthems, whatever. I don't know exactly what I want. I would love to see something based on the lore of the first ever wolf, how it became a werewolf, all that kind of stuff. Give us a little bit of lore with that, give us a card. And I'd also like to see something, along like a Van Helsing type of route, like the hunters or whatever. My guess is this is probably... way back, like probably pre-Thalia, all that kind of stuff maybe. So why not give us, like the beginning aspect of everything?
That would be cool. They could definitely do that. Yeah, they're not at all tied to doing things in continuity right now, so for sure.
Yeah, because it's not like we're going to get Avacyn and all that stuff again. And if we do, I'm going to be like, oh, really? Why do we keep going back to Innistrad and get the same stuff? Give us something different. I mean, they went back to Zendikar and changed everything, so why not go back and change everything now with this?
How about you, Max? What are you hoping for here?
So I think lore-wise, I do like the idea of going back in time before the Innistrad we've known. I really hope WotC has learned their lesson after Battle for Zendikar and how they kind of said, hey, we screwed up. Zendikar was supposed to be an adventure set. Let's go back to that. And they did that with Return to Zendikar. And I really hope they follow in those footsteps with Innistrad and go back to the Gothic horror and we don't have Eldrazi or...
What are you talking about? Emrakul still in the moon.
True.
That's true.
Or we don't have Phyrexians, because my original thought was this is where they're going to use Innistrad as the set where all the bad guys show up, and this is where the battle of the Phyrexians is going to start. But I'm like, no, I feel like WotC learned their lesson with Emrakul last time. I do.
Morrow, the whole time Morrow's talking, you're never going to believe it. It's going to be so surprising. Guess what? Emrakul. And everyone's like, yeah, we knew it was coming.
Set symbol. I mean, that was pretty obvious. I do wish this is where I would want cards that I'm familiar with to get like a Planeswalker card, so that would not be a pat like said in the past. So like an Odric Planeswalker or a Sigarda Planeswalker would be really cool, but if this is set before all of that exists, then that's not going to happen.
Yeah, Odric as a Planeswalker would be pretty sweet. I would like to see them do that. It's been a while since we've had a Planeswalker that was a character first that became a Planeswalker, particularly one that's like been an established lore character. So that would be kind of neat to see. I agree.
And then thinking from like a product side, seeing that these are 2 sets that are going to come out simultaneously, or at least that's what we're assuming. I was trying to figure out how these packs are going to go, because from a sales perspective, if you print the one big chase card only in the vampire packs, the werewolf packs are never going to sell.
Right.
So, I was sitting here this morning thinking about how could they do this? Could they do this like a jumpstart where you automatically, when you buy a pack, you get one of each? But we've seen the booster boxes, and that probably isn't the case. So I think what we're going to get is if you buy the vampire pack, 10 or 11 cards are going to be strictly from the cards in the vampire quote-unquote set. And then the other 4 or 5 cards are going to be from the werewolf set.
Okay.
And then I think what they're going to do is do what they did in like Shadows over Innistrad. It's going to be a double rare in every pack, where if you buy the vampire pack, you're guaranteed a rare or mythic in the rare slot from that set. And then the double is either another rare or mythic from the vampire set, or a chance to be a rare or mythic from the wolf set, and vice versa. Because then you can be like, hey, my LGS only has the werewolf pack, and I'm looking for, Edgar Markov 2.0. Maybe I do have a chance to crack him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I can see that for sure. For me, we've seen the lords of a couple of the vampire clans. I think there's 5 vampire clans. So we've seen Angie Falconwrath. We've seen Olivia Voldaren. Edgar was the head of the Markov clan. I'm not sure in the lore if he's still alive or not. I'm not even sure if they've ever said one way or the other. So I wouldn't mind seeing either a new Edgar card or at least whoever is in charge if it's not currently Edgar. And we also don't know who the head of the Stromkirk bloodline is. That would be kind of neat to see, just to get that lord and get them all out there. Soren's Parasite Blade, his sword, has never been printed as a piece of equipment. There will be a good chance to make that a piece of legendary equipment in the game. So this last thing here it's kind of a deep lore dive, and I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned it on the show before, but it's been a while if I have. If you read back to the lore from way back in Homelands, so we're talking like 1996.
I don't know how many people were even alive back then that play Magic nowadays.
I totally get that. But the way the Homeland storyline ends, that's where Baron Sengir and the Sengir vampires, all that stuff first comes from. And the Homeland's Olgrotha is the name of the plane. It had like a natural portal to get to Dominaria, which is why Sengir vampires were on Dominaria. There was a connection between those two locations. But at the end of the storyline, Baron Sengir opened a portal to somewhere that wasn't Dominaria, and Autumn Willow, who's a character from Homelands, the last thing she saw was Baron Sengir marching his vampires through this portal to some distant world.
So that's how vampires got on Innistrad. Wow.
Well, and that's what I wanted them to do way back when Emrakul showed up. That's what I was kind of hoping they were doing with the Nahiri storyline, where she's like, well, I'm just going to bring a bigger vampire here to ruin Soren's plane. But they could still do that. They could still have it just be a portal that Baron Sengir himself found a way to open to get into Innistrad, and now we have Baron Sengir back in the main like Magic storyline as an antagonist on Innistrad. Whenever we want to go back again in the future and have Soren have some enemy, it can, instead of it being like Emrakul or something, we have Baron Sengir trying to like take over the plane, and the other vampire lords have to team up against him. There's just a lot you can do with that, and I really want to see Baron Sengir back in the main storyline.
That would be cool. Yeah, how the other vampires, they'll have like a balance, between how many humans we eat and all this stuff, and all of a sudden you show up and you just want to take over. No. This is not going to happen.
There's just a lot they can do with that, and I really would like to see them kind of pay off that storyline from 25 years ago and do something with it. So that's my fingers crossed hope.
I just want to read the book. That's what I want to read. I don't even care about the cards. I was like, no, give me a story of this. This sounds good.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. Okay, so those are the sets we know about. We do have a few things we don't know about. We don't know about the Commander set. So the Commander sets last year, the Precons, the 5 of them came out in the spring with Ikoria. With Ikoria.
Yep, correct.
We don't know that this year. We have no idea when the Commander decks are coming out. The Precons, I'm guessing we'll get 4 or 5 Precons again in a clumped up release, but we don't know that for sure.
Now, are they going to do it how they did it with, Zendikar, where they created those extra ones or whatever they were?
Right. And we're getting 2 for Kaldheim again this time, so I feel like we're going to definitely keep getting 1 or 2 with each standard set that's kind of tied into the standard set. But does that mean we're not going to get the 5 Precons at once again? I don't know.
I definitely think what they're doing with the 2 for each standard set is great, because you get, 2 or 3 brand new cards and then a bunch of great reprints that, people just need for Commander. I think the Commander Precons themselves, they need to continue to do to help the Commander community. I mean, they've recognized this is the format people play, no matter what.
Yes.
What I would like to see is them not to do the simultaneous release with a standard set, like they did with Ikoria, because
you need a breather.
You need a breather, but it really made preview season murky. You didn't know if this person's preview card was from the Commander deck or the standard set, or, it's actually in both because we needed to fill the deck. So, I mean, they could totally do the 5 decks with Strixhaven, but have Strixhaven come out, and then 2 weeks into that, do the commander decks, start preview season. So they kind of fill that gap between sets. So Strixhaven comes out for standard. People ride that hype train. 2 or 3 weeks after the set releases, start doing the previews for the commander set, which ties into Strixhaven. And then those come out, towards the end of the life cycle of that set.
Yep. Yeah, the commander the 2 decks with each standard set seem to have replaced the planeswalker decks.
Yep.
Which no one really bought anyway, for the most part.
Just you when it was mono white and you needed it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like occasionally there'd be a card you needed from them and you're like, I guess I gotta buy it.
I think the only one that I bought was the Teferi one, the blue-white one.
Yep.
Because Niambi went and grabbed Teferi, and Teferi gives you extra turns, and I was like, that seems broken. Let's try to break this.
Well, the best part of those decks were they came with booster packs. Like, you got a deck and a booster pack or 2 booster packs for $15 or $20. That was worth it.
So, I do think, like, they're going to sell more of the planeswalker decks than they ever, of the commander decks than they ever with the planeswalker decks. So I get that, but I agree with you, Max. It doesn't replace the actual commander decks where we get 50 or 60 brand new cards and a bunch of reprints.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get an announcement at some point on when those commander decks will come. I'm going to guess it's not going to be in the next month or 2. We usually get more lead time than that, so maybe this summer or something. But I think we will get those pre-cons. We just haven't got that.
Maybe they'll give us our commander decks for our birthdays again, Max.
Maybe. Or maybe they'll do like them around Modern Horizons and make every deck a specific theme. So like there's a Dredge deck and a Storm deck and themes that are in Modern, make them into a whole commander deck.
See, I would rather see it around Strixhaven and then do one of each color.
For sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mono decks again. We also have not got any word on Brawl decks, if those are going to be a thing they do again. And at this point, the first Brawl decks were in autumn of 2019. So we're a year and a half in and have not got more Brawl decks.
Maybe they learned their lesson on how broken all those cards were.
Well, I don't think that's the kind of lesson they learned, though. I think the lesson they would have learned is, these decks sold because they had broken commander cards in them. But also, if you remember back when they first printed the commander precons in 2011, we didn't get any in 2012 because they waited to see if they would sell before they started designing the ones, and there wound up being a year lead. So it wouldn't surprise me if they just did the Brawl decks, waited to see how they sold, and then we're going to get a lag on those until maybe this fall we get some more Brawl decks. So.
Yep. See, I wonder if it's also, a thing, like, I don't hear about people playing Brawl itself. I just hear about commander players buying those cards. So maybe
they don't care. Maybe they're happy if commander players buy them. I mean, that's good enough.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you're exactly right. In paper, people bought them for the cards. At least that's what I've seen on social media and the people I talk to. Where Brawl excels is Arena, because they have historic Brawl and standard Brawl. So,
I suppose, yeah.
So, like, Jumpstart on Arena, you can build a Brawl deck around Naiath or, Kells or Tiny Bones. So, it's definitely more of an Arena-type format where they can benefit monetarily with a small paper printing run because they know the Commander players are going to want to snap up Corval 2.0 or, Chulane 2.0 and see what happens.
A 1-mana Arcane Signet, which is coming.
I agree. I think we will see those again. We just haven't got an announcement. Maybe it won't be this year, but I would bet it will be. I bet we'll see those this fall. Last, clearly they're not going to stop doing Secret Lairs. Supposedly the Walking Dead one was the best-selling one they've had yet. So I'm sure we'll keep getting those. Mm-hmm. And I'm still pretty happy with the product. I know people were annoyed with the mechanically unique cards in The Walking Dead, and I get that. But it gets cool, neat reprints out there if you want to buy them. And if you don't, it makes the cards cheaper for you that aren't the cool new reprints, as everyone gets their new ones. Like, well, I don't need this old Bitter Blossom, or I don't need this old Anguish Unmaking or Damnation or whatever it is, and then they put them on the market, and then you can pick those up cheaper. I get why people feel like it's a cash grab, but if you are a player, it's just a win-win. You can either participate and get the cards, or you can ignore it entirely, and your cards are cheaper. So I don't know what else to say about that. Do you guys have any thoughts on those?
Not on Secret Lairs. I do have thoughts on other stuff that's probably coming.
What do you think? What else haven't we talked about? Actually, let's let Max chime in on Secret Lairs first, and then see what you think might be coming.
Yeah, sorry, Chris. So yeah, I actually was the one that made this its own little topic in our notes just because I saw it in other places. You put in a couple of things there, Dana. So, I think a third-party Secret Lair would be Harry Potter for Strixhaven. That's kind of a a no-brainer, or maybe a Twilight one for Innistrad.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, me personally speaking, I like Secret Lairs. None of them have spoken to me personally to go and spend the money. I know I've heard the horror stories about I ordered my Stargazing complete set and it took a year to get. I've heard those stories.
Oh, wow.
I've also heard the stories of I ordered it on Friday and it was here the next Friday. So, like, everybody's experience is different. And like Dana said, you don't have to buy the thing. Like, you could wait till the singles get cracked and buy it from your LGS or another card store. Or you can order the set and never open it for value. But I agree, Secret Lairs aren't stopping. And I am okay with that because, again, it's my choice. I've said this before. If they popped up tomorrow and said, hey, we're doing a Power Rangers Secret Lair, you can guarantee I'm buying 2 or 3 of them because I want them. That's something that speaks to me.
They won't have the Green Ranger in any of them, though.
No, that'll just be in the big, like, $400 one. But just thinking about how Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, and Hasbro has all these awesome properties like Power Rangers or My Little Pony or Transformers.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all that stuff.
Right, and the fact that now Magic is branching out into the video games. We have that new Diablo-type video game hopefully coming in this year. The Netflix series, they can do a lot of stuff based on those other Magic properties that maybe aren't the card game to make them Secret Lairs.
Yep, they could partner with other things, to try to make, that other company money as well,
Right.
Like, hey, you come in with us on this, give us the rights to do this for this one time, limited thing, and, we split the profits with you type of blah, blah, blah. Well, however business works, I have no
Right.
clue.
Hey, here's an Avengers Secret Lair. You get all 6 of the original Avengers.
Yep.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, all depending on how the world's going, like what's the big thing going on right now type of deal.
Exactly.
Oh, so Chris, you said you had some thoughts on other things that weren't mentioned that you think might be coming out.
Yes, I guarantee that there will be at least minimum 1 spellbook will be released this year.
Oh, yeah.
Due to the simple fact of we are still missing 2 of them. We're missing the black one and the green one. So, what are we going to have? Liliana and Nissa, or Liliana and...
Garrett.
I'm not sure who else. Yeah, one of the 2. But those have to be coming. I mean, they already did the first 3. You might as well complete the set out. Hippity hoop blah. If you don't, I'm going to be very mad because I'm collecting them. And that's... if my collection's not done, I will be upset about that. The other thing I was thinking about is, granted, that did just happen at the end of the year last year, but is there going to be another Commander collection that comes out? They did the green one, and I know how it flew off the shelves at our local LGS, so I won't be surprised if they do something else along those lines, by the end of next year.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Because, though, again, they're great selling products. They require pretty minimal effort on WotC's part to make them. There's no testing or anything because they're just reprints. It's pure profit. I would expect to see more of those as well. Yeah, that makes sense completely.
The other thing I was thinking about is we're getting Modern Horizons type of stuff. Now, before the pandemic hit, I know Pioneer was a huge format that was being played. So I don't know if they're going to go something along the lines of trying to push Pioneer into the new Modern. So maybe they start pushing, like little supplemental things that like these cards are legal in Pioneer, but they're not legal in Standard type of deal, some added into sets or whatnot. I'm not sure how that would work, maybe like box toppers or in the collector's boosters, that kind of stuff, but it would be interesting to see on that as well.
Yeah, I could see that as well. I mean, one of the things we saw last year was Hasbro talked about how they wanted to double the revenue from Wizards of the Coast this year. I mean, I don't know how you do that without releasing a gazillion products. So yeah,
Exactly.
There's not going to be a shortage of stuff being printed, I don't think.
So since we're talking about kind of just open-ended what we hope happens in this year, I actually, since Chris was talking, I have a couple in my head. The first being along with the D&D set that's coming out when the core set would typically come out, I would hope to see like a new plane chase set with maybe using the D&D locations as the planes.
Ooh.
So maybe that's how we get introduced to them in the multiverse as, hey, here's 20 new plane chase cards, all based on D&D areas that have abilities that can be, translated to Magic.
Okay. I do like Plane Chase a lot. That is it's interesting to play.
Second is I really, fingers crossed, hope that WotC finds a new printing press because of how terrible the Commander Legends foils, whether they are normal packs or collector packs, but even more so the collector boosties, those foils are curled like, worse than a Pringle. They're almost rolled into a cigar, and then they're so cloudy, it looks like they're covered in dirt. I know, I played a game last night with Brando from CCO, and he literally said, That's all I bought was collector boosters because I traded in essentially all my collection to buy boxes of collector boosters, and they look like terrible, terrible trash. And when I complained to WotC, they said, well, that's how it is. Too bad, so sad, essentially is what he got back from WotC.
Yeah, it is pretty sad because, I mean, the amount of effort that they put in, to make these sets so good, all the people involved, why not make your product that good to go with it? I mean, it's just a pride thing, honestly.
And it's a customer service thing. People have been playing this game for almost 30 years now. And the fact that you went from printing really good foils that, yeah, they will curl a little to, I didn't even open my pack and you can see the curl.
Yes.
That's just, to me, as a customer in general, not as a content creator, just as a customer of this game, it's kind of a slap in my face. Like,
yeah,
why would I go spend money on collector boosters or collector booster foil cards from my LGS when I know they're gonna look like a Pringle forever? Like,
yeah,
sure, you can put them under books for weeks on end, but they're just gonna spring back because it's the quality of the material used.
Yep. Yeah, I have a stack of them sitting underneath all my D&D books. Speaking of D&D, right now. But I noticed, just for a like tips for players who are having this issue, after they you flatten them out or whatnot, double sleeve them, and I put them in I use boulders for my deck boxes, and it's so tight that it actually holds them together so they don't recurl, because you may play, for an hour-long game, but in that hour, they're not going to curl again, whereas if you let them sit out, for 3 days, they'll end up curling again. So that's something, to keep in mind, too.
Anything from you, Dana?
I think I've thrown it all out there. I think you guys have drained the well dry. But I'm looking forward to the year. Kaldheim has me excited so far with what I'm seeing, and I think we're going to get a ton more Commander cards this year for us. So I think we're going to have a busy 2021 if we can ever get through these 45 days of December we're in right now in 2020 still.
Right. I am excited for Kaldheim as well because I get to finish my theme deck I've been working on for years. So
which one's? What's that?
It's my Charlie's Angels deck.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you get some
Kenrith. I get some new angels, so I can actually have enough good angels to play instead of going, oh, these 20 angels are really good, and these other ones are all trash. What do I do with this?
And they're all 6 drops, all the ones that are good. Yeah. No, for sure. Okay, well, that's going to wrap up this episode of Commander Central. You can find me on the Twitter birds at Dana Roach. You can find Max at CMDRCentral_Max. And you can find Chris at WiseSquishy1. Our show is edited by Rafael Garcia. You can find him at Ursa Bearwalker. And our podcast theme is Retro Future Dirty by Kevin MacLeod, licensed via Creative Commons. We will be back next week with another show. Until then, I am Dana.
I'm Max.
And I'm Chris.